last night when I fed these animals, they only ate about 12 buckets of feed. And I got out here this morning and the bunks were empty. So I figured, well, they ate it throughout the night, but they're slowing down their eating. Like when I give them feed in the morning, they're not stuffing their faces. They're just kind of nibbling at it. And so these animals, you know, well, I mean, they're doing good on the 16 buckets of feed. I'm giving 16 buckets of feed a day. And I've ran the numbers, and by the time I hit 20 buckets of feed, actually, you know, I was taking a look at this yesterday, and my biggest animals, if y'all take a look at the biggest ones, like that one right there, I would actually say that one right there, he's probably, well, I mean, he's kind of lean, but actually, he's not one of them. That's one of the second biggest ones. That's the ones that are going to be going at the beginning of March or so. But I got a real big one over there, right there, and he's going to be kind of rectangular. And I got to get this calf to stop suckling on this heifer. But you know, my real big ones, I think that they're going to be about 700 and a quarter right now. And so I figured within about 4 weeks, I'll be liquidating. I'll be starting to liquidate. And this is one of the animals that's going to be going. I think that this is a Jangus animal. This is a Jersey cross. And this one, I think, you know, he always, you know, butts my leg. But this one, I think he's going to, animals that are this size right here, they're going to be going to the market by the end of February, the beginning of March or something like that. And then I have animals that are bigger than this one, like that one right there and that one right there. I think that those are the two, and I got 2 red ones and 2 black ones, and they're 4 steers. And I took a good hard look at them, and I think that the biggest ones weigh about 7 1/4 right now, 750, and the smallest one weighs about 675. So I'm taking a look at it, and I've been talking about everything that everything I got lined up. I want to get it all you know, done on schedule and on track. Right, by about March, I need to file my taxes, and then when I file my taxes, I really want you know, I want to take my tax paperwork to the bank. I want to talk to the banker about getting a loan. I want to take my tax paperwork to the bank and see what kind of a loan that they'll give me. And you know, I want to get myself a loan, and I want to see you know, I want to buy myself you know, a big piece of land, and then I'm gonna run my cattle on it. You know, by about March, I'm gonna have to go and you know, I want to start liquidating animals. When I start liquidating animals, I'm gonna start putting real big checks in my bank account. And you know, I've been talking about this, the whole idea of the bankers, that if there's one person in the world that you really want to slap in the face with money, it is the banker. All right, you want to put on a $10,000 suit, and you want to go and you know, you want to be that person, right? You want to put on that $10,000 suit, and you want to have a $10,000 watch, and you want to, you know, go around then go and talk to a banker about doing a $3 million deal, okay? Like if you really want to dress like that, and you really want, you know, the time to do it is if you're going to go to the bank and ask for a $3 million loan. If you're going to present a $3 million loan, and you want, you know, if you want to talk to somebody about doing you know, a $10 million deal, then sure, go and put on your $10,000 suit, right? And go and put on your $10,000 watch, and you know, go and then you know, and then you can slap each other in the face with money, right? And then, so I mean, then you can go and talk about your $10 million deal. But I mean, you know, like me, I'm not gonna come out here in a suit, right, and run my cattle, right? I mean, you know, I'm not gonna drive around in my Lamborghini so I can get back and forth from my farm, right? I mean, what's the point of that, right? It's like, oh my God, you know, I got to go to my farm this morning, and so I'm gonna hop in my Lamborghini. What's the point of that? I mean, you know, like if you're gonna go and you're gonna talk to somebody, or you're gonna go and you know, do a $10 million deal with somebody, then sure, then put on a $10,000 suit and put on a $10,000 watch and hop in your Lamborghini and go over there and slap each other in the face with money, and then see if your deal goes through, right? I mean, but you know, but that's what I got. That's what I'm looking at. You know, by about March, I actually think that by about the middle of next month, here in about 4 weeks, you know, here in about 4 weeks, I'll I'll be ready to start liquidating. My biggest animals are about 7.25. My smallest one that's going is about 675, and so on the average they're about 700. I got them on a 0.49 NEG feed. I'm feeding them about 3% of the body weight a day. They're actually eating so much that they're actually not eating very much. Well, actually, their eating habit has definitely slowed down, and they got access to grass in the back too. So, I would anticipate that my animals are putting on about 90 pounds a month. And right now, the average weight is going to be about 700, maybe a little bit higher. So I think that by about 4 weeks, these animals are going to weigh, well, within a month, by the middle of next month, these animals are going to weigh about 800. The animals I'm taking to market are going to weigh about 800. All right. And so, and then when I start liquidating and I start bringing home very, very, very big checks, that's when I want to go and I want to show it to the banker. Hey, here's the money. Here's the money, and I want you to give me a loan. And when they ask me what I want the loan for, I'm going to tell them, right, more or less, the big idea is that I'm going to introduce my deal. I'm going to say I want to buy this equitable asset, and the reason that I want to buy this equitable asset is because I anticipate that I can make a positive return. And why do I anticipate that I can make a positive return? Because A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z reasons, right? I mean, the money talks. I mean, you can take a look at the paychecks. I mean, this business cost me about $1,000 a month, and I make about this business cost me about $1,200 a month, and I make like $12,000 back on my money. All right, you take a look at my balance sheet. It's like I have $2 million worth of collateral, and I'm net positive about $10,000-$12,000 a month net positive cash flow. Right, I mean, the money just is what it is. I mean, I don't, the banker's gonna understand too, right? It just is what it is. If you actually take a look at what I got going on, I mean, it's like, I got $2 million worth of collateral, and I'm net positive cash flow, almost $10,000-$12,000 a month, right? I mean, and the whole idea of the loan is like me, when I go to the bank and I get a loan, what I'm anticipating that happens is that, I introduce my deal. Maybe I'm sitting on about 100,000 cash. I got about 100,000 cash right now. Maybe within about 4 or 5 months, whatever, I'm sitting on about 100,000 cash. And I got $2 million worth of collateral, and I'm net positive cash flow about $10,000-$12,000 a month. Even after I pay for everything, I still make a net positive of about $10,000-$12,000 a month. So I go into the bank and I show them my deal. I say, hey, there's this piece of land that I want to buy, and I show it to them. And they say, okay, let's take a look at it. The bank will send an appraiser out to look at it and get a value of the land and everything. All right, the bank will appraise the land for you and everything. So they go out there and they take a look at it, and then they bring it back and they say, okay, the land is either at market value according to the bank, or it's about, or whatever, right? If the listing price is higher than the appraisal value, then the banker will tell you. And so effectively what's going to happen is that, okay, here is how I look at numbers. What I anticipate is going to happen. When I go into the bank and I ask for that loan, what's going to happen is that they're going to say, okay, well, he's got about 100,000 cash. He's got about $2 million worth of collateral, and he's net positive cash flow about $10,000-$12,000 a month. Net positive, right? That's about how much money I have left over every month after I've paid for everything. So they're going to take a look at my deal, and they're going to say, okay, well, we want you to put a 20% down payment on it. There are loans, like if you buy land in the boonies, if you buy land, like I'm looking at potentially purchasing, 400 acres of land, stuff like that. When you look at these pieces of land, a lot of, there are loans where you don't actually have to put anything down. It's a 0% down payment. All right, and I'm just going to give you this information because if you, it's just information, and you can do with it whatever you want. If you want to take a 100% loan, then you can take a 100% loan, whatever you want to do. But if you call around to these different bankers and then you ask, and then you show them your deal and then ask them if it qualifies for a 0% down payment loan. Some of these pieces of land in the middle of nowhere, they qualify for specific government loans that require 0% down payment. You don't put anything down. They give you a 100% loan. And that loan has no mortgage insurance on it. You don't have to pay home insurance on it, no nothing. They give you the loan, 100% of it. You don't put anything down. They don't even charge you insurance on the loan. All right. And then so ask the banker. Different bankers have different lending standards. You want to ask your bankers these questions, right? What is the interest rate? What is your lending terms? What is the, et cetera, right? They'll give you a length of time that the loan will happen for. They'll give you the interest rate. And then also ask if this piece of land that you are looking at qualifies for a 0% down payment loan. But if it does not qualify for a 0% down payment loan, what is going to happen more or less is that they're going to say, okay, well, if you collateralize, if you let me, if you hold your land right now as collateral and we give you a line of credit for your piece of land, you can use that money as the down payment, and then we will leverage your cash flow for the rest of the loan. All right. And so, so they're going to say, okay, well, you have whatever, right? I mean, you have $2 million worth of equity. You have about $2 million worth of equity, and you need to put a down payment of $500,000. So we're going to collateralize your equity for the down payment, for the $500,000 down payment. And because you make whatever, $10,000 a month of net excess money, we are going to leverage that $10,000 a month for the other $1.5 million. And so I take a look at the loan and they say, okay, you want to take a loan for $2 million. You want to take a loan for $2 million. We will give you this loan. When it's all said and done, you are going to have to pay $10,000 a month. And so I'm sitting there looking at the banker. So they say they want $10,000 a month for this piece of land. Let's just say it's 250 acres. Let's say it's 350 acres, whatever, 350 acres, right? They want $10,000 a month for this piece of land. It's 250 acres. And then I take a look at the banker and I take a look at my financials and I say, okay, well, even if I stopped working today, I just completely stopped working today. I just said, you know what? I'm going to go on a vacation. I don't feel like being a cattleman anymore. I don't want to work anymore. I'm just going to get myself a Lamborghini and I'm going to go on a vacation. Even if I did that, I can float my debt service for 10 months. Even if I made $0, I could still float my debt on the $2 million for 10 months. And the big idea is that if I have 250 acres and I run my cattle on it and I run my business plan on it, the big idea is that I actually make a positive return. All right, I spent $120,000 on this thing and I made $1.2 million back. All right, half of that went into the cattle and half of that I just, whatever, right? I bought equipment, whatever it is that I wanted to do. That's the big idea. That's how the whole situation works out. So that's more or less, if I'm going to give you an honest idea of how a deal works out at the bank, that's about how it works out. You don't actually need to put a down payment. You don't need to put a down payment, but if you don't put a down payment, your $10,000 a month is not going to qualify you for the $2 million. Technically you don't need to put a down payment, but if you don't put a down payment, then we won't lend you the entire money, because if we lend you all of it, then your income does not qualify. But if you collateralize $500,000 worth of your assets and then put that $500,000 into the deal, and we give you a 75% loan, and we will give you that 75% loan for whatever, then now you qualify. And I say, I take a look at it and I say, okay, so they're asking me for $10,000 a month. For the $10,000 a month, I will then get to own this piece of land. The piece of land is whatever, 250 acres, 300 acres, right? Whatever it may be. And then I take a look at it and I say, well, if I run my business plan on this piece of land, I will actually make a positive return. A substantial positive return. And if that turns out to be the case, and also if I do not make a single dollar for the next 10 months, I can still float my debt. I have enough cash reserves to float my debt for 10 months, even if I didn't make one single extra dollar. So I have 10 months to figure it out. Then I'm good to go. That's effectively how the deal looks like. Like me, when I take a look at a deal, that's more or less what goes through my head. That's more or less how I do it. All right, that's the kind of information that you want to present to the banker, right? I have this in collateral. I have this equitable asset. I'm not showing them my Pokemon card set. I'm not showing them my, I'm showing them, good assets, right? I have a business that produces $14,000 a month. I have a piece of land where, and I have I have several hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equity in my land. I'm net positive cash flow about $12,000 a month. Even after I pay for everything, I still have about $12,000 a month left over, right? And then I show that to the banker, and then the banker takes a look at it, and then I present my deal. I want to take a loan for $2 million so that I can go and purchase this new piece of land. And when I purchase this new piece of land, the reason that I am doing it is because I can make a positive return on it. Then it's a very good deal, right? The banker wants to give you the money. You want the land, right? It just is what it is, right? I mean, and then, the banker collects their interest. You go and you start your business. You make your money, right? I mean, you pay the bank their $120,000 a year and you make your million. Right, I mean, we're talking about the hundred and a lot of people whatever, right? Oh my God, the bank the bank is taking you for everything you have. It only works out like that if you're an idiot. Like if you go to the bank right now and then you go and buy some horrible asset, and then you bankrupt, you buy yourself a boat. Right, I mean, yeah, it's going to feel like the bank is taking you for everything you have, right? I mean, but at the end of the day, whose fault is that? It's yours, right? I mean, you're the idiot, right? I mean, you're the one who went and bought the horrible asset, right? And then bought a boat, bought a bunch of useless things, and then now it's like, oh my God, now I can't make right? I have no money, and the bank is taking all my money. And then sure, it's going to feel like that, but for me, it doesn't feel like that at all. It's just business. At the end of the day, it's just business. All right, it just is what it is. I mean, the contract is there. We signed the contract, and then the contract is done. They give me a $2 million loan. I pay $10,000 a month on it. I go and I run my business, and when I run my business, I take that loan and I purchase a piece of land and I run my business. I make $1,200,000. I take $100,000 out of the $1,200,000 that I'm making, and I just pay the banker back. Now I'm good to go. Right, I mean, I get to keep $1,100,000. I can do whatever the heck I want. To me, that's what the bank feels like. The bank is not taking me for everything that I have. If anything, I mean, it just is. I mean, that's just business. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, life is not a journey. Life is not an adventure. I mean, life is not Disneyland, right? I mean, you just want somebody to hand you $2 million and just. And if you fail, even if you act like an idiot and fail, you just get to walk away, scratch free. Is that what you want? Because I mean, if that's what you want, I mean, congratulations, you're an idiot. I mean, that's not how the world works. If they're going to hold you accountable for, for what you're doing, right? I mean, you go and you buy some horrible asset, and then you go and buy yourself a boat and a bunch of cars, and then and then now it feels like you have no money. Well, whose fault is that? All right, I mean, let's just take a look at it for what it is. I mean, and to me, the bank does not feel like that. When I go to the bank, it's just business. It's business. I present my my balance sheet, right? I present my balance sheet. Here's a guy, a couple $1 million worth of equity, $2 million worth of equity, makes $20,000 a month, makes $17,000 a month, lives on $4,000. He has a net positive cash flow of like $10,000-$12,000 a month. I mean, he's not doing drugs. He doesn't drink. I mean, he doesn't have a bunch of useless things, right? And now he's sitting here talking to me about he wants to get a loan so that he can purchase another equitable asset that he can make a positive return on. All right, then that's more or less what it feels like when I go to the bank. All right, and so I'm getting everything ready to go. By about the middle of next month, these animals, the big ones, are going to be ready to be liquidated. And then I got the ones that are a little bit smaller than that are going to be ready to be liquidated about 2 weeks after them. I'm going to have a large amount of money coming in. I'm going to have a large amount of money coming in. And when I have that large amount of money coming in, and I also have my tax paperwork, that's when I want to go and present everything to the banker. I'm going to show them, here's how much money I make, right? I make about, if we average it out for the 12 months, I mean, I'm only really going to make this money about 10 months out of the year. And so if we average out the $12,500 a month over 12 months instead of 10 months, then, it's like, I make about $11,000 a month on my business. My business makes me about $11,000 a month. It costs me about $1,000. right? When you take a look at my numbers, I'm net positive cash flow about, in terms of just straight cash. I mean, and I also have assets and I can show them, but a lot of people, they don't understand that cattle, and I've talked about cattle as an investment, right? I mean, cattle are technically just a commodity, right? I mean, if you think that cattle prices are going to zero, I mean, you're an idiot. Like, if you legitimately think that you're going to wake up in 10 years and the price of your T-bone steak is going to be free, you're an idiot. If you think that people are going to stop eating beef in 10 years, you're an idiot. All right? I mean, you should really sit there and think about that for a minute. If anything, and it's like a lot of you don't understand, and I've been talking about this whole inflation idea for a long time. Right? I mean, if any, like, you probably don't understand that 10 years ago, Coca-Cola used to be 75 cents a can. Now it's $1. All right, T-bone steak back in the day used to be $8 a pound, $9 a pound. Now it's $12 a pound. Back in the day, your rent may have been $1,000 and now it's $1,200. 10 years ago, your rent may have been $1,000, but now it's $1,200. And in the future, that's probably going to continue just because of the broader economic forces at hand. If anything, your T-bone steak is going from $12 a pound to $14 a pound. If anything, that can of Coca-Cola is going from $1 a can to $1.25 a can. And if anything, your rent is going from $1,200 to $1,500. All right, that's more or less what's going to happen from what I anticipate. And in 10 years, when you're sitting there and you still have nothing, right? Nothing is my fault, and I'm not going to be held accountable for anything. And I was a good person, and so I ended up poor. Right, and you're in this death loop of poorness that is effectively going to have a death grip on you for the eternity of your entire existence, and it's also going to bleed into the other fabrics, the other aspects of your life. You will actually end up turning other people poor. Right, and then it's just cataclysmic thing. All right, and I'm looking to break you free from that. All right, and when you're sitting there in 10 years and you're having to pay $200 a month more for rent, and you're having to pay $2 more for your T-bone steak, and you're having to pay an extra 25 cents a can for Coca-Cola, and your energy bill has gone from $200 to $250, and you're sitting there and you're going, oh my God, how am I supposed to afford this? My bills have gone up by $700 over the last 10 years. Oh my God, how can I do this? All right, the answer is you invest your money. All right, and if you invest your money, and I, here's a very, and I was thinking about this, but here's a very good, realistic idea of what I'm talking about. Why you don't need a massive amount of money to effectively just break yourself out of eternal poverty, eternal poorness. Why you don't need such a large amount of money. If you go on the real estate market right now, and look up homes up to $1 million. Just go on the real estate market right now and look up homes valued up to $1 million, listing prices up to $1 million. You're effectively looking at 99.98% of all properties on the entire market. Right? I mean, effectively everything is going to either be under $1 million or at $1 million, everything. And when we talk about $1 million, you want to go to the bank and take a loan for $1 million. Me, I'm looking at taking a loan for $1 million. I may even take a loan up to $3 million. But if I go to the bank and I take a loan for $1 million, that's about what? About $5,000 a month. If it's maybe $6,000, $5,000 to $6,000. So we're talking about $6,000 a month. And let's say that after it's all said and done, you have to pay $7,500, right? I mean, after everything, let's say you pay $7,500 for your $1 million loan. But you have a net equity position of $400,000, and the banker says, we want to hold on to $200,000 of your net equity position. We want to hold on to your $200,000 of your net equity. We want to hold on to $200,000 worth of your collateral as down payment for this piece of land, or for this house, for this $1 million house. They want to hold on to $200,000 worth of your equity. And your $200,000 worth of equity, it's actually out of a $400,000 net equity position, and your $400,000 equity is producing you about 10% return a year. So that $200,000 is effectively free. All right, it's effectively, you could take that $200,000 and you could light it on fire, and it wouldn't even send your bank account into the negative. you would still outgrow the, granted that you don't want to set $200,000 on fire. Would I set $350,000 on fire even if I could do it? No, I would not. I could do it, but would I do it? No, I would not. Why would I do that? I'm just using that as an exaggeration, all right? I mean, and so you use $200,000 for your whatever, your down payment. That $200,000 is effectively free money. You don't even have to worry about it. I mean, it's out of a $400,000 position, and that $400,000 is going up by 10% a year, right? It doesn't even matter. The money that you need for that portion, you can just take it out of your net equity position. It doesn't even matter. So now you got your 20% down payment, and they're going to give you a loan for $800,000. And that loan for $800,000, now you take a $7,500 and you take a 20% off of it. We're talking about what, about $6,000, right? We're talking about $6,000. So for you to live in this $1 million home, if you really want to live in that $1 million home, I mean, you're gonna have to pay $6,000 a month for it. All right, and if you really focused yourself and you really got yourself together and you really, I mean, anyone can make $6,000 a month. Granted that you don't just want to make $6,000 a month. I mean, realistically, I mean, in terms of all honesty, I mean, if you're taking a look at a home, I mean, you probably don't really want to go over, maybe about a third, right? I mean, if you really want to buy a home that's going to cost you $6,000 a month, you probably want to make about $18,000. All right, because then it's like now you can do whatever the heck you want. If you make $18,000 a month and you have a $1 million home, you still have money left over to invest, right? You can buy whatever it is that you need, but I mean, I'm just using the $1 million home as an example. All right, if you take a look at $1 million homes, I mean, you're effectively talking about everything. 99.98% of the entire real estate market. And that's what we're talking about. I mean, and you can, and nowadays you can buy a perfectly good home. You can buy a very nice home for $750,000. If you buy a very nice home for $750,000, I mean, now we're talking, about cut that 6,000 by another quarter. Right? And now we're talking about, you need to make $4,000. Right? I mean, if you make $4,000 a month to pay for your home and, then you're good to go. Right? And, when you think about making $12,000, I mean, you shouldn't, the possibility of, for me to buy this $750,000 home, I would need to make $12,000 a month. I mean, if you really want to buy the home, then go and do it. I mean, the thing about me, is that, and I know that this can, whatever, it's gonna sound horrible, but, and I'm not looking to come off as a prick. It's just information. I make about $10,000-$12,000 a month net positive on my farm on a 10.5 acre field. I mean, you can find a way to make $12,000. I make $12,000 net positive on my 10.5 acre field. Okay, I make about $10,000 net positive on a 10.5 acre field. Okay, I mean, and it's like, oh well, and then it's like, if and here's the thing, is that you can even buy a perfectly good home for $500,000. Like, if you paid $500,000, you can buy yourself a more than okay house. All right, you can buy a more than okay house for $500,000. You could buy a nice house for $500,000, and if you buy that house for $500,000 and you pay it off, and then you pay your you pay your $2,500 a month for it, you pay your $3,000 a month for it, and then but you actually don't make your minimum payments. You make more than your minimum payments, and you pay it off, and then you sell it, and then now it's like you have $700,000 to put towards your next home. And then congratulations, and your equity position was going up in value. I mean, if you really got to it, I mean, like, if you really wanted a $1 million house, if you really wanted a $1 million house or a $750,000 house, and you bought yourself a $350,000 house to begin with, then, I mean, you can sell the house once you're done paying for it, and then just use that money and your overall net equity to buy yourself a new one. And then, and it would take what? Not even 10 years. It wouldn't even take 10 years. All right. If you started, if you're 25, if you're, and you started on it, I mean, it wouldn't, by the time you were 30, I mean, you could have yourself, you could be comfortably, and you could do whatever the heck you want. All right. I mean, that's I'm just giving you from what I have seen. All right, I'm just gonna be completely honest. Me, this farm, my whole life situation, my whole everything, I produce about a net positive of maybe about $10,000 a month, $11,000 a month, and I can't spend the money even if I want to. The only realistic way for me to spend that amount of money is to expand my business. Logically expand that amount of money. Granted that I'm not going to just go and get myself a whatever, a bigger, get myself a Lamborghini. And then, granted that I'm not going to do anything like that, and I'm not going to go and gamble, or I'm not going to go and be an idiot. There is no way to spend $11,000 a month of net excess income. It's not possible. Granted that you don't have massive problems. It's not possible. Like, if I went out right now and I was like, you know what, I have $11,000 cash left over every single month and I'm going to go and spend it, I couldn't even buy anything. Couldn't even buy anything. Even if, granted that I'm not going to go and buy drugs, or I'm not going to go and gamble, right? Granted that I'm not going to be an idiot. You can't even spend $11,000. All right. It's not even possible. All right. And so, when I see all these things and it's like, oh my God, my bills are, my grocery bill went from $100 to $150. My grocery bill went from, $100 to $125. And oh my God, my electricity bill went from $200 to $250. How am I supposed to make it on my $15 an hour? In all actuality, that extra, that $750 that your bills went up by, that's probably going to happen again over the next 10 years. All right. It's probably going to get worse. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. It's probably going to get worse. In 10 years, your bills will have gone up again. And then we will be right back to where we were. You're just, complaining about everything, and there's no way out for you. And, and you're effectively on a eternal death loop of poorness. All right. It's like, oh my God, my bills went up by $700. I can't believe it. Oh my God, my bills went, it's probably in 10 years, it's probably going to happen again. Your bills are going to have gone up again. That $1 can of Coca-Cola is now going to be $1.25. Your rent was $1,200. Now it's going to be $1,500. The T-bone steak was $12 a pound. Now it's $14 a pound. Your electricity bill was $200. Now it's $250. It's probably going to happen again. I'm just going to say it. I mean, and if you don't find your way out of this situation, then you will be stuck in the eternal loop of poverty. You will be stuck in the eternal loop of poorness, not even poverty. I'm not even going to call it poverty, because poverty, it's like, you could be in poverty and be broke, and it's not a big deal. If you're in poverty and you're poor, or, if you're just a poor person, I mean, and I've always said that you could even have money and still be poor, right? You can. It happens to a lot of people. I actually talked about this in terms of the bigger, broader sense. $2 million is kind of like the proving grounds. Nowadays, it's like, if you had, back in the day, I don't know how much the money was, but nowadays it's like, once you have about $2 million, that's when you effectively enter the proving grounds. Are you actually going to be able to stay consistent? Are you actually going to be able to do this thing or not? Or are you going back to square one, and in a worst case scenario, you will actually go negative? Right, I talk about, I've been talking about this. $2 million, you effectively have enough money to permanently ruin your life. If it came down to it, you could permanently ruin your life with $2 million. You could go in the net negative, like $250,000. You could hemorrhage money and never recover. All right, it could happen. And $2 million is kind of like the proving grounds. Well, and I've always, and I've talked about this, but when you talk about people making my whole situation is that's, right now I make about, on the bigger aspect of things, maybe I make just over $2 million a year right now. I'm actually looking to push that up. I'm looking to take my earnings and reinvest my earnings so that I can get, an opportunity to expand my business. And, and if you said everybody who is in the USA who is making $2 million a year, we want everybody in this room. We're going to take everybody in the room. We're going to take everybody in the country. If you're making $2 million a year, come into this room. And so there's 20,000 of us in the room. right? There's 20,000 of us in the room, and I'm looking around, and I can almost guarantee about 90% of the room is either going to be an idiot, or they're just going to be looking to make $2 million a year forever for the rest of their life. You're very rarely ever going to find somebody who is making $2 million a year who is looking to legitimately do better for themselves. I made $2 million a year this year, but I've been looking at my money. I've been looking at my finances. I'm net positive cash flow, about $11,000 a month. I have about $2 million worth of collateral, and I'm looking at expanding my business about 325%. I'm actually planning to have my income go up to about $7 million a year next year, or by this year. Very rarely. It's going to be a very, very, very small portion of the room. And when I look at people, that's what I see. They're going to be one of three people failing, which is a majority of people. Let's just say it is what it is. I mean, if you take a look at it, I mean, I think if we talk about it in terms of a business sense, 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years for whatever. And I mean, I've talked about this in terms of, like, if you actually want to make it like this. Like, if you actually want to make it like this, right? Like, you want to be sitting on $2 million worth of equity, looking to grow your business, making a net positive cash flow of $11,000 a month. This is where you want to be. Are you sure that you still want to be? And here's the reality. For whatever reason, only 0.0000001% of you are actually going to make it. Everybody else will quit for whatever reason. It just is what it is. You will not make it here. 99.99999% of you are going to quit for whatever reason. That's what the money says. All right, like, if you actually want to make, $7 million a year, you want to be in a situation where you have $2 million worth of collateral and you're making a net positive of $11,000 a month. We're talking about a 0.00001% success rate. For whatever reason, you will quit. You just won't make it. All right, and I'm just, it just is what it is. Okay, it doesn't matter what you think. If you want to go and start a 10.5-acre field, and you want to make $2 million, and you want to go net positive $11,000 a month, nobody's stopping you. It's a free country. You can do whatever the heck you want. Go and do it. Right? Don't ask me. You don't got to ask me for nothing. Right? I mean, just go and do it. All right, nobody's stopping you. Let's see it. But effectively, every single one of you are going to fail. For whatever reason, you will. It just is what it is. All right, and if you actually want to make it, then you should start practicing. And practice all the time. Put yourself in a situation where it's like, I'm going to go and buy myself a piece of land, and that land is going to cost me $1,000 a month. And if I put $1,000, that land is going to cost me $2,000 a month. And if I have $2,000 a month, that I'm paying for the land, and I run this many cattle, and I run these type of cattle, and I grow my grass like this, and I accumulate biomass on my grass like this, and I put my animals on the grass, and I don't have any equipment, I can practice for free. Right? And if you practice for free for 10, 15 years, then eventually you'll make it here too. All right? You need to practice. That's the number one thing. You actually need to practice. Nobody cares what you think. Oh my God, I was born to be a farmer. Nobody cares. All right? There's a very realistic possibility that I make somewhere between 250 and 500 times more money than you. All right, and I'm not saying that it's not fair, right? It's not, and I'm not saying that to be a malicious person. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. Like, when it comes to farming, it's like, oh my God, I was born to be a farmer, and then it's like you take a look at, and it's like everybody's effectively just failing and dragging everybody else down with them. All right, this person, and I take a hard look at somebody who's farming, and it's like this person is actually closer to being homeless financially than they are to doing well. And they're in I fell out of heaven a 7 mode. All right, and that's not good. Right? I mean, you're in a situation where, and now you're just doing barely enough to get by. You just want to do okay for a very long period of time. You're not even looking to do better for yourself. You're an altruistic person and you're poor. Something has gone horribly wrong. All right, and if you just took a look at it for what it is, and just all honesty, if you put everybody in a room who was like, I make $2 million a year, and I'm in this room with everybody in the country that makes $2 million a year. I make $5 million a year, and I'm in this room with everybody that makes $5 million a year. and you took a good hard look at everybody in that room, I mean, we may even be talking about 98% of that room who is actually either an idiot or they're just interested in making the same amount of money forever. They're not like, oh, well, you know, I produced a net positive of $11,000 a month. You know, I have about $2 million worth of collateral right now. I generated this collateral by starting my own business and owning a piece of land and having, you know, commodity assets. And now I'm looking to, you know, invest my earnings so that I can expand my business by about 325%. Right? Very, very, very few people are actually going to look to be doing better for themselves. Very few. All right. And you want to be in a situation where you're looking to do better for yourself. You should take a hard look at it. It just, you know, it just is what it is. Okay. And I'm getting everything ready to go to the bank. You know, I've taken a look at my assets. I'm ready to roll. All right. You know, my animals are about 700 on the average, and you know, I'm ready to go. I got to file my taxes here in about 2 months. I'm ready to roll. And that's it for me today, YouTube. You have a good one.